My shoulders are shit. I have trouble with my shoulders, forearms, all that kind of stuff. Just in terms of tolerance when I'm doing overhead stuff, so I do have to spend a little bit more time on these ones as well. They've been pretty good at the moment, but I just like to keep on top of that. This will kind of depend on whether I'm doing log or axle, right? So there's no like, oh cool, this is my overhead preparation. It really is dependent on what I'm training, whether that will be log or axle or any other implement. You know, if I'm doing dumbbell, that's gonna change too. If I'm doing axle press, I'll grab a bigger band than this generally. I sort of pop this underneath my heel and I just do some assisted lat tricep stretching where I grab this, I drive my elbow up and I kind of push into this. Okay, so holding that there, just kind of waiting out, pulling down and driving my elbow to the roof and kind of extending up as much as possible. So I'll kind of do that on both sides. The next thing, if I'm doing axle, just roll my wrist or do some like assisted, whether it's on a box, just kind of like wrist mobility stuff, just to make sure that I am able to get into as good of a rack position as possible leading into my actual session, right? From there, all my normal stuff for my overhead will kind of commence. I will do single arm Arnie press, just kind of coming up. So tucking my elbow in, keeping my ribs and my hips stacked and reaching overhead, looking for scap elevation, tuck and drive straight up, right? The next thing I'll do, grab the rope. I'll just hit some general face pulls, usually 10 or 12 reps, and then just some tricep extensions. And that's pretty much my upper body warm up. The only thing that I kind of do preemptively before I probably even start my band stuff is a little back routine that I do 2 or 3 times a week on my overhead day and my deadlift day. That's gonna look a little something like this. So on both my deadlift day, maybe if I feel like it, but predominantly like my axle and like log day and stuff like that, I do a little bit of like extension and rotation work for like my thoracic and my back, right? So that's gonna look like this, a little sequence that Lee Shaw and I do, which is just back bends or cobras, coming down, pressing up, and repeating. The next thing I'll do here is in this position, reverse cobras or reverse scorpions. So coming around, touching behind, and 8 each side here. And usually lastly, these guys, so rotating across, coming, reaching across that side. You can see I'm not amazing at this, but hand to hand and repeating on each side. So those 3 pretty much always. Sometimes we'll sit into this position here, go through some rotation, or I'll do some quad ped. Rotations on each side, sort of like to finish off, but pretty much the key ones there is that cobra back bend, the reverse scorpion, sort of like rotational stuff, and then that lying pretzel rotation for our thoracic upper back as well. So I'll usually start that, and I'll do that on both my overhead days currently, and then potentially my lower body day, my deadlift day, if I'm feeling like I need it. Then I'll get into some of those band mobility exercises if I'm doing axle, those Arnie presses, rope face pulls, pull downs, and then if I'm doing log, I pretty much do that full sequence without the band stuff, and I'll just jump straight into a log and do a lot of like strict presses before leading up to the heavy work.